Everyone, Indez here. Today I'm gonna explain to you everything about the Reforge Set bonus. What do you need to do? What do you have to use? What are the best ones for each occasion? Everything it is gonna be in this video. So let's dive into the Reforge set. How does it work? It is very simple. As you keep leveling up your gear level, so if you see here, I got level 30, you're gonna start unlocking your Reforge Set bonus. So if you see here, because it's level 30, at level 6, I unlock this one, level 11, level 16, 21, and 26, and that's when you can have a maximum of 5 Reforge Set bonus per piece. That's why you should rush to get as soon as you can the level 26 gear, and of course the maximum is gonna be the level 30, but that's gonna take a while. So let's explain to you here what are all the overview about this system. So as I explained, level 6, 11, 16, 21, and 26 are the ones that you start unlocking this bonus. There are a few family sets that you have to be aware of, which I'm gonna explain. We have a Wildfire, we have Vengeance, Barrier, Jolt, Tremor, and Ravager, which they are all, a few are decent, others are completely OP, and most likely the ones that you're gonna have to use. And also it's important for me to explain that whenever you have more than 3, you get the family set items. So in this case, I'm using for the PvE the Wildfire, so I get like this Hydra. But if instead of like 3 Hydras I had 4 or 5, it's gonna increase by each 10% more damage. So it is very useful that you guys can go, but usually people don't do this. People just go like with 3 because you get the benefits, and they make like these combinations to like pretty much min-max whatever you can get. So for the last point, remember that all these Reforge Set bonus are nerfed inside PvP, like many substats and many stats. They are nerfed by 66%. That's what we call PvP strife. So going here, we have for the first one, which for me, it is the best one. It is the Vengeance. It's just like the one that if you are playing as a primary attack, especially if you see here on top, we have the primary attacks have a 2% chance of you to deal 100% more damage. So for example, for a Barbarian, this is great. And also when it comes to the substats, they are incredible. So in this set, in my opinion, you should mainly pick these ones. These are like the most generic ones. You have the attack speed, which is like great for everything you're gonna do in the game. You have damage to demons, and this one is very specific to PvE because most of the mobs inside Diablo Immortal, they are demons, like all the raid bosses. Most of the bosses, like, and it's just gonna blow up like your damage like crazy. You have damage to loss control, which is also very great, especially for example, again, playing with Barb, which you always doing the chains, you're gonna slow them down, or as a wizard. So damage to loss of control, it is extremely good. And for me, which are the ones that are like really OP, it is the damage to players, because this stat, it is not nerfed inside the PvP, so please have in mind that. And then you have damage to shielded enemies, which, you know, most people nowadays, they have a lot of shields, so whenever they have the shields, you're gonna just break it like very fast. And I also use this one, so very nice. This is literally a top tier set that you guys should use. Then we have here Wildfire. This one, it is also extremely good for especially PvE. I will most likely not recommend it to use the set bonus items for the PvP, but let's check what are the ones that are literally the most important to see. And you have here the primary attack damage increase, which is insane, especially if you're playing like Barbarian, Tempest. It's just like there's so many classes, they just take a lot of leverage from your primary attack. Then you have all skill damage, also great. And then you, above all everything else, you have the critical hit damage. These is the ones that I'm gonna make you do insane crits. So the set bonus is whenever you have this at least 3 pieces, you're gonna summon an Hydra, and this Hydra pretty much just gonna help you out to clear some mobs. It is not like insane damage, but it definitely helps sometimes. Then we have here, which for me, now we are entering like in a more niche scenario, and I will only recommend to use Barrier mainly for PvP or late game. If you are already like powerful enough that you can do anything in the game when it comes to PvE, So the barrier has a 2% chance of you just getting a shield for 6 seconds. So it's like an extra shield is gonna make you extra tankier. And if you've been playing this game, you know like how shields are extremely good, especially when you keep stacking on top of them. So in my preference, I will pick out of like these 5. I will go, for example, with the maximum life, block chance, and damage taken by nearby enemies. So these are the ones you want to reduce the damage that you take, you want to increase your block chance, and just increase your life to make you more tanky. Like this one, it is very straightforward. There's nothing much to it. The other ones, like fear resistance and damage to undead, unless in the future damage to undead, we have a specific boss that is going to be like extremely hard, and if we can replace like damage to demons to damage to undead. But right now, there is no necessity for that. It's pretty much useless. Now we have here Jolt, which is also a very niche and popular choice for PvP. It is also very, very good, but I have to mention that this one, Jolt set, he has the most important Reforge set bonus of all the items. So we have here beneficial effects duration. If you don't know beneficial effects duration, it means like when you have a buff and the buff duration, it says, for example, is going to be 10 seconds. So if you have 50% increase duration, now instead of 10 seconds, it's going to be 15 seconds. So it is massively, massively huge. That's how you can get your skills with 100% uptime. That's how you can even increase the duration of like the critical buffs that you get, for example, for Roiling Consecrate, the Mother's Lament. So it's just like the best one. It in general is just gonna help you a ton. So if you have to go for the first one, if you're just starting the game, the one that you want to always be looking for, it is the beneficial effects duration. Because whenever you stack with 8 items and you see here 2% here, then you have 2% here, then we have 3% here, which like the maximum here is 3%. So also have in mind that these set bonus, they have some range. That's where the RNG comes in. It can be like for example a 1.5% like this, or it can be a 3% like this one. Like this is the maximum and this is the minimum you can get. Either way, as a free to play, you want to try to get the highest you can, but as long as you get what you want, I don't go and I don't min max it. Yeah, I just don't do that. I don't have the resources to do, because Reforge Stones are super, super hard to get. So going back to the Jolt, this one, some people, they really, really enjoy it because, again, Jolt is going to give you 2% of chances of immobilizing the attacker, which it can be very annoying, especially when you're playing a class like Barb that you cannot move, and you know, overall it's just annoying. It's very good to chase enemies because you're just going to immobilize and you're going to catch up. So not only that, in PvP, he has 2 of very, very good stats. We have damage taken from players, and again, this damage taken from players, it is not strifed, so you can get from 0.5 to 1%, and if you multiply 1% times 8, which is like the equipments that you have, you can have up to 8% damage reduced, which is a lot. And that's how, like, for example, when you see me in BGs and you see like this massive gap between me and other players, especially around my resonance and around my secondaries, it's just because I also min-max and I optimize like my Reforge sets, my substats, and my green sets. So everything at the end of the day will be beneficial to you to become stronger. And then we have damage taken while suffering loss of control. This, for example, whenever you're slow or whenever like you fear. This is also very nice because nowadays that CC is everywhere. Everyone is slows, everyone is stunned. So it's just gonna add another layer of like tankiness on top of you. So you can also go with this. Is very, very nice. Now moving on to these ones are what I start seeing as the ones that are less used. I will not recommend from now forward like most of these sets. They are, in my opinion, not worth it, especially in the current meta, but I'm gonna still explain. So for the Tremor one, you have the primary attacks. They have a 2% chance of dealing damage and stun them for 1.5 seconds duration. But remember, like the things with the stuns is like, if the guy has a lot of high resistance, this is gonna short it up your stun duration, so it's gonna be like a very mild thing. It is still annoying, it can still be annoying, but the reality is not like you're not taking Tremor because the bonus sucks. Like you're not taking Tremor because like almost anything here is actually that great. Okay, you have the continual damage taken reduce damage, which is not bad. It's like you just receive less damage from the dot. It's okay. Like I kind of prefer to have like from the Jolt the damage, overall damage taken reduce, so I prefer to take that. And then you have like the stun resistance and the knockback resistance, which I feel like in the past used to be a bit better, but now you have, for example, barbs just have like a shoulder that they give you like knockback resistance, or you have heartless terror, which should literally become immune to CC. So people are having like more options, and I don't think like the benefit you take from this set it is that much, so I will not recommend this one. Then here from the Ravagers, I feel like this one, it is mainly for PvE and mainly for summons. The only one that I feel like from here I will recommend, it is the damage done by summons, and that's if you are trying to run, for example, minion necromancer or something like that. Besides that, it's not worth it. Also the bonus, like 2% chance when defeating an enemy to get like a corpse to explode. You don't need this nowadays. Even open world, like you have Seared, which is like the golden chest rune. You have that's gonna explode the mobs whenever you kill them. You also have Ignis Scorn. You have volatility shard. So you have like other options of gems to create the same effect. So it is not worth it because most of these bonus are like not good at all. So don't waste your time with this unless you are like going fully into summons. And that's like another thing, is like to use these, you gotta like commit yourself to, okay, I'm just gonna play summons, maybe in Tempest, maybe like in the minions, Blood Knight, like, but it is just like not worth it in my opinion, unless you're playing those specs. So please don't take this unless you really love minions. And okay, they just set it up. This is like the overall view. These are all the families of the set Reforge set items that you can get. Like I said, here on the top you kind of have like the main ones, maybe also like with Jolt, and then you have like the ones that I will not recommend, Tremor and Ravager. But don't worry, I also made here, you know, some combinations. When it comes to the combinations, there is a lot of them, literally a lot of them, and people can tweak it like with a more personal touch. So for example, let's go and explain you guys here. So for this PvE one, this is mainly full PvE max damage that you can get, especially as a barb. So damage to enemies suffering loss of control. So remember, every time they have a slow, every time they are stunned, so 5%. And always remember that these Reforge sets are multiplied by 8 pieces, because it is the 8 pieces that we have here, you know, like the shoulders, everything. So always multiply by 8, and that's what it makes this so great. Then we have here, we have 6% damage in demons. It's just gonna be like what, 40%, 40 something percent. Like it is an insane damage boost. You have 2% attack speed, you have the 3% beneficial effects, and you have the 3% added crit damage. So this one, if you're just like looking for mainly a PvE one, I feel like this is maybe one of the strongest reforge that you can actually get. But remember, you have to be a primary damage skill class, so have that in mind. This is like literally pretty much like almost the perfect PvE Reforge set items for barb. Then we have here another one for summons, where we are going with the summons damage beneficial increased duration. As always, all of them, they have the beneficial increased durations, all of them, you know. Like that's what I was saying, like if you're just gonna pick one, this one is in every single freaking Reforge set combination, so just always picks that. So they're going to go for primary attack, skill damage, and critical hit damage, like I told you. And they are trying to summon the Hydra. The Hydra is going to be a summon, and they are pretty much like, or they are playing, for example, or a Tempest, because the Tempest Hall has the minions and does a lot of damage. But also, if you're like playing a Necromancer, is also very good. So PvE summons. Then we have PvP Vengeance. We have the shielded to enemies. This is the one I personally and I'm using right now. Damage to loss control, damage to players. This one, it is freaking insane. Duration to beneficial effects, and damage taken by players to reduce. Very strong build, special for primary attack. Then you have also here the PvP barrier. This one is, for example, if playing like tanky Crusader, even like barb, like you can also play. I was thinking about like building up a Reforge set. Let me show you the ones that I have. Like right now, the first one that I built was a PvE generic one, right? Like primary attack, all skill damage, critical beneficial effect, and attack speed. This is like a pretty generic one, and I was starting to build my PvP one. So right now I have like beneficial, attack speed, damage to player. So like I'm still trying to make it and adjust, but it just takes like a lot of time to build this up. Also, a lot of you guys don't know, but you actually can go here to the Reforge and just select the two layouts you have. In my opinion, you should build up first your PvE one, then you start building up your PvP, and then at the late game, for example, at this stage, I really don't even need to have the PvE one anymore. I literally could just go like with this one, with PvP DPS that also will work for my PvE, and then I can go with the PvP tank set or like with some Jolt or something else. I kind of also wanted like to have at least 3 loadouts. 3 loadouts I feel like will be even better because I could have like a PvE, you know, a tanky PvP and a DPS PvP. I feel like I will be insanely grateful if they can actually increase in the future for these loadouts. But we got 2 of them. It is better than before because before we didn't have any. So as a final tier list, this is it. This is for PvE. We have Vengeance, as long as you are using the primary attacks, of course. Then you have the Wildfire, the Barrier, and the F tier is literally don't use it in PvE. Then for PvP, we have on the S tier, in my opinion, we have the Vengeance, the Barrier, and the Jolt. There is an option that you guys can also put Jolt at S tier. For example, if you're not taking advantage of the Vengeance because you're not using primary attacks a lot, but most of the people actually use the primary attacks in PvP. But if you're not, and you're just using spells, in my opinion, maybe Jolt it is a better option for you. But I just feel like Vengeance has a really nice added damage to PvP, and that's why I like it. And then we have like Tremor, Wildfire, and Ravager. Tremor, like there's still some people that use it. Some people they still come like with the Wildfire, but in general, just go with the 3 ones in the bottom for PvP, and then you're gonna do fine. So for the last thing, I want to tell you how can you actually get your Reforge Stones. Well, if you don't know what are Reforge Stones, are these ones in the beginning of the game. These they give you these like candy, but afterwards it is starting to become like very hard to get them. So one of the biggest ways that you actually can go and get them, it is in PvP. And I know like a lot of people, they don't like to do PvP, but whenever you climbing to the PvP, I'm gonna show you here, you have the rewards, and at the end of the season you get 85 Reforge Stones. Okay, right now we are top 1, right? So we're gonna get to 85 and 89, but listen, you don't have to be top 1, okay? At least just try to get the legend. If you get to legend, it is like 42 Reforge Stones. It is very good. So please don't sleep on these. And also on your climb on the way, you will also get Reforge Stones. For every rank that you climb, you get 25 keys for your secondaries, which is massive. This nobody cares, but the Reforge Stones is also very important. So please don't sleep on these. This is like actually one of the main reasons why, even though you're not a PvP lover, you should go and get it. But you also have other places that this one I don't recommend, but if you're like in the need of it badly, you can get from here, but it's gonna be very expensive. I literally will not recommend it because these hilts, they should be used like in normal gems, Darlic Pearls, the legendary crest. Also now like I'm Immortal, so I have another legendary crest, and then you always have this one, the limited time. This is also why you should always save. So I'm gonna buy this, of course, like Sapphire. So bing, nice. And for the last one, you also have here near the blacksmith, you have a vendor. You can also, I think, go from the store, but I never open the store. I always like to go to the NPCs itself. So we have here next to the blacksmith this guy with a strange name that he has some Reforge Stones that you guys can buy with plant. So as a free to play, I will recommend you to maybe not spend on this because it is very expensive. But if you really need, it is here. Okay, you can get it, and you also can get it with the orbs. I just wanted to tell you the option that exists. If you guys you know, you just need the Jolt and you don't have it, just, you know, maybe go here. But as a free to play, hey, I would have really avoid to do this. I never bought any of it and I got my set. You just gotta grind wherever you can these Reforge Stones. So with this, I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed. And as always, we're trying to catch up on the Diablo Immortal number of subs. So with this, thank you for watching. Catch you guys next one. Peace.